What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I am telling you this week, I just am so excited, not only because of this show, because usually that's the thing that I get very excited about on Fridays, but I am just glad this week is over. It has been such a wow week and, beautiful weather. My producer today, Jen, was just telling me before we started that she was outside long enough and well enough to get herself a bit of a tan yesterday. So it's coming. That weather is coming, and I'm so excited. The flowers are blooming. The trees are getting those buds and whatever on them. It is a little bit drizzly here today, so it might be a little bit darker than it normally is on the show, but what the hell, right? So you are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive. I am your host, Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery. We are on Inspired Choices Network. And, Christine, our leader here, she's such a tease. Do you know what she did to me just before we started the show? She's like, "Oh, I've got a big secret that I can't tell you." I'm like, "Oh, no, you did not." It's mean. She's mean. And I love her. Anyway, so that's where we're at just going into the show. Like, what a great way to just lead me in, right? I'm sitting here going, "What is she talking about? What is she talking about?" Anyway, we have a really good show for you today. And next week, I'm just telling you, I was looking at the schedule for next week, and next week's show I am very excited about. So stick with us until the end, and I will share with you what next week's show is going to be about. This week, it is about emotional toll, price versus cost. Interesting, right? So, we're going to be talking today about, again, tapping into that intuition. There's such a theme going on with my shows lately, but again, tapping into that energy and that intuition of stuff, following that stuff to lead you to the things that are good and right for you. So, that's what we're going to be talking about. Yay. On Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk a lot about our subliminal soundtrack. So, very quickly, what our subliminal soundtrack is, it's this loop of messages that plays in the back of your mind all day, every day. It is made up of little tiny bits of information that you've picked up throughout your entire life. So, every conversation you've ever had, every relationship you've ever been part of, every experience you've ever had, every circumstance you've faced, every bit of it has given you these little bits of information that have gotten stored up here on your subliminal soundtrack. We use that information to create our belief systems about everything. So, what does it mean to love or to be loved? What does it mean to have money, have success, or not? What does it mean? What do we believe about the world in general, or the people that are not sharing their secrets with us? What do we believe? All of that stuff is made up from this information that's playing in the back of our mind all day, every day. So here's the thing: we have on average 60 to 80,000 thoughts that go through our mind every single day. Now that works out to about 2,500 every hour and about 60 per minute. So, can you identify 60 thoughts that have gone through your head in the last minute? I can't. And that tells us that this stuff is happening in the back of our minds. So there's your sort of scientific evidence to what we're talking about. So what we want to do on this show is we want to encourage you to create a mindset that actually propels you towards success. So get that subliminal soundtrack working for you rather than against you, and also identifying your unique beauty and brilliance and contribution that you are to the world, because we need you. We need you. And I bet now that we're going through this collective thing in the world, we need you more than we ever have. So let's get you to the point where you can show up as who you were born to be. This stuff, I gotta tell you, this stuff just makes me so happy and so excited. Yesterday, I was doing a short presentation for a group that I'm part of. It's called Powerful Women Today, and I was talking about money mindset. And I was exhausted when I went into this call and had to sort of pull my stuff together and show up as a professional lady that knows what she's talking about. because I do, but I had to pull it together to show up that way. And by the time we were done the call, I was energized and I was reinvigorated. It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, today's show, we all know that when we buy something, it's important to consider both price and cost. Going by only one of those can actually take us down yeah, it can take us down to a costly mistake, right? Because if we focus on the lowest priced item, very often the lowest priced item is actually not very good quality, so we're going to end up either having to fix that or replace it in very short order. So you see what I'm saying? It's important for us to consider both. The value comes into this, all of this stuff comes into it. So what we're talking about today is the emotional cost of whatever decisions that you are trying to make right now. So is it career? Is it relationship? Is it money? Is it what kinds of decisions are you facing, and what can you do to assess sort of what the emotional toll of that is going to be on you and on your life? So, if you believe this is how our subliminal soundtrack relates to this particular subject, if you believe that once you've made a decision, you're forever committed. Now, feel the energy of that, forever committed. So, you'd better make the right decision the first time. You may miss out on something that will give you tremendous joy and and wonderful experiences and learning and so on and so forth, because you'll be afraid. You'll be afraid to take the chance, or you'll get stuck in situations that you won't leave, even though you know that they're not that good for you, but you won't leave them because you committed yourself. So, again, feel the energy of this. I committed to this. I am obligated to this. Feel that energy. But if you believe that every experience holds something valuable and wonderful, that you're allowed to change your mind, you'll make choices based on what's best for you right now, and you'll reserve the right to change your mind when the situation no longer serves you. Do you see the difference? Like, just play with that. We're obligated, or, okay, this seems like the right place to go right now, but if it doesn't work out so well, I'll go find something else. Feel the difference of those things, okay? So in accounting, you all know that that's my shtick. That's the big hat that I wear most of the time. In my accounting practice, we would call this something called a cost benefit analysis. So, in that way, we're looking at the numbers. So, what is this actually going to cost us, and what are the benefits that it's going to bring? And very often, you're looking at several different options to try to pick the best cost benefit analysis, or the best one for this cost benefit analysis. Okay, you're looking at the best option out of these things, but it is very clearly based almost entirely on the numbers. All right, so you are way in your left brain on that one. But in this situation, we are going to talk today about using both our intuition and our ego in conjunction with one another to help us with these kinds of decisions. So it's similar to the idea of creating a pros and cons list, and different at the same time. So we'll go through some of these, and don't forget what we've been doing the last several shows is in the third segment. We actually walk through some steps on how to do this. So if you don't have one already, go grab yourself a pen and paper and be ready for that. It'll be fun. I know it'll be informative. Yay. All right. So in this case, again, we are going back to this intuition and ego in conjunction. And this can fly in the face of some stuff. Last week, we had a show about, like almost entirely actually, about intuition. So if you'd like some steps on that, go back and watch the show from last week. It was fantastic. I had so much fun doing it. And it's got those tips on the intuition. When we are talking about these kinds of big decisions, careers, marriages, big, big, big moves across the country, sometimes it's very important for us to combine those two things, because there are very real factors, right? If you marry a certain person, what's that going to mean? What's that going to mean for your life? What's that experience going to be like? What is that going to teach you? What are you going to do if it ends? Because we all know that, these processes of taking apart and dismantling a life, a legal life together, it's complicated, it costs money, all of that kind of stuff. So if you're considering marrying someone, it's important for us to put both sides, the left and the right brains together, and really get a handle on what would be good for me. Okay? And that's really the question that you want to get down to. What would be good for me? Okay? So, ego is the thing that we'll talk about shoulds. You should do this because it makes sense. You should not do this because it doesn't make sense. Or it's also the thing that is designed to help us stay safe. It's designed to protect us. Your intuition is that little voice. It's like a tap on the shoulder, or it's sort of like, maybe you'll hear it in the back of your head, or maybe you'll have a vision, but it's that energetic place where you just feel it in your gut. Do you know what I mean? Like when you walk into a place and say, for example, you go over to a friend's place. If you walk in the door and they've just had World War III before you got there, most of us can sense that. Most of us can sense that. If you walk through the door and it's nice and warm and cozy, we can also sense that. So this is what we're talking about with this intuition thing. It is our sense. It's something we can't define, and it will show up very differently sometimes for people. So pay attention to the gut, pay attention to the body, pay attention to the thoughts and the things that go through our mind, the pictures that come to us, the songs that we hear playing that we're like, "Oh, wait." Because again, we're getting into that source, angels, spirits, guides, whatever language works for you. Don't get hung up on the language, but whatever it is, if it's your God, whatever it is, when you feel that, when you hear that, you will know it. So that's your intuition. It's the thing that we can't explain. We know something without having any way of knowing it. All right. So sometimes, now this part's kind of dicey. Sometimes it is a good idea to go and talk to our friends, to our family members, to our tribe about big decisions that we're thinking about making. Sometimes it's a good idea. If you do this, make sure that you go to people that you trust. Number one, you trust them. They have proven themselves to be trustworthy, not, oh, I think I could, because sometimes very personal information, you need to have that person that will not throw you under the bus, will not out it on public social media, whatever the case may be. Okay, so make sure that it's somebody that has shown themselves in your world to be trustworthy. Number one. Number two, very important that you go to the people who already have the thing that you would like to have. So if you're going to a person for, money advice, you want to know that that person actually has done well for themselves financially. They're good at managing their money. Okay. Because if I talk to my friend that, lives on his buddy's couch, that guy is probably not going to be able to give me very good advice about money. Makes sense, right? If I'm going to somebody about marriage advice, then I want to find a couple that I look at their relationship and I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, that feels nice to me. Don't go to the people, even though they might be your closest family members, if they don't have the thing that you're looking for advice about, don't ask. Just don't open it up, because they can often speak to you in stuff that's just not going to work. It's not going to work because you're trying to create this thing and they have this. So they know this. They know this. They can't help you do this because they don't know it. Okay? So it's really that simple. It's not about bad intentions most of the time. Most of the time it's very good intentions. But we want you to find the information that actually works for you and what you would like to create for yourself. So when we do this, you have to remember that you are just gathering information. That's all this is. I am gathering a different perspective. I am gaining more bits of information to help me think this through. Because very often somebody will have a completely different perspective, or maybe it's somebody that's worked in the place that you're thinking about working, or whatever the case may be. Very often there's a different perspective. So that's where this stuff can be very, very helpful, because that information can help you discern which is actually the right way to go. All right. And When you do this, make sure that you don't go to the people who will be affected by your decision. Make sure that you go to the people who are, what is that? Like they talk about therapists being disconnected. There's a word. You know what I'm talking about, but impartial. We want somebody who can be impartial, okay? Because sometimes these big decisions, oh, Jen says unbiased. Yes, unbiased, impartial, whatever those words are. You guys get the feel for that. Because sometimes people will come at you from a place of no, like, if you're talking about making a big move away, then maybe some of your friends are like, "Oh, no, 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 no. You don't go anywhere. You're my friend. I would miss you. It would hurt me." No. And in fact, this might be exactly the right move for you. So I want to talk to the people who can be unbiased, who want the very best for us, who have some knowledge about what it is that we are trying to create for ourselves, and that we can trust to keep these conversations to themselves. That's what we're looking for. So if you're going outside for information, those are some of the very important things that you need to think about. So I'm getting told we are heading to our first break. So you are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. We will be back in just one moment and we'll continue our conversation about this emotional toll, price versus cost. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about emotional toll, price versus cost. Ooh. So the emotional cost of whatever decisions you're facing, career, relationships, whatever it is, the big decisions, okay? Like, I mean, you probably don't need to worry about it if you're like, would I like to have toast or cereal for breakfast? I don't know. Maybe you don't need to worry about using all of these tools if you're just trying to decide about something for dinner. I don't know. But, use it wherever it fits. How's that? So, this segment of our show, we are going to focus on this idea of reserving the right to change your mind. And you have that, okay? I will share with you that this was one of the biggest struggles that I had for a very, very, very long time. This idea of I have committed myself. And my word is very important to me. So when I had committed myself, it did not matter. It did not matter what happened. I did what I said I was going to do. And 99.9% of the time, that's exactly what happens anyway. But there were circumstances that came up in certain places in my life where sticking with that and honoring my word were actually very bad for me. Very, very bad for me. So we're going to talk about this. You are allowed to change your mind, especially under certain circumstances. So it's important to understand that whenever we go into a new situation, we are in completely uncharted territory. So whether that's a new job, whether that's a move to a new city, whatever it is, okay, there are a lot of things that we are not going to be able to know about that situation until we get there. Until we get there. So we have made a decision and we have now moved forward on doing whatever this thing is that we decided we were going to do. But what happens if the situation changes? What happens if we get there and we find out that we had anticipated something completely different than what is actually showing up in that situation? So I'm going to share with you, like, just to illustrate the point, I'm going to share with you a few stories. There was a place that I started to work, an office job that I had many years ago. And when I was hired, I went in, the daughter was going off on a mat leave. So it was a family owned business. The daughter was going off on a mat leave. And I interviewed with both her and her mom. Mom was one of the like higher ups, obviously, in the company. And when I interviewed, I had 10 or more years experience working in the accounting field. And I was going into this position that was an accounts payable position. That is really sort of mm, it's not a high job. And if you've got 10 or more years experience doing all kinds of other stuff besides accounts payable, it might be sort of a like an underperforming kind of thing for you. It might be a thing that your experience, your knowledge, your need for stimulation, your need for mental stimulation might be in a completely different level than what you're being presented with. So when I interviewed for the job, I knew that going in, we'd moved to a new place and it was like, okay, I need to find a job, I need to get settled, all of that sort of stuff. So there was an important reason for me to consider this option. Absolutely. But what happened was during the interview process, I was told by mom that what they were ultimately looking for was somebody who would cover that mat leave and then move up to her position. So after daughter came back, you would train for the higher up management position because she wanted to retire. So the plan right from the get-go that I was presented with was cover the mat leave. She'll be gone for whatever, 10 months a year, whatever the magic number was. She'll be gone for whatever time. And when she comes back, you will then train to go into this position with higher pay, better benefits, all of it. Okay. There were other promises that were made in the interview process that did not materialize, but this one was the big one because I went into this job and I really was not getting the mental stimulation that I needed. I really was not. I was bored stiff because I already knew how to create systems to put these things. There hadn't been really systems before. So once I got things all situated and she's off having her mat leave, I'm running the show in the accounts payable department. Once I got those systems in place, it was like, okay, so it's noon and I'm done. I don't have anything more to do. So over the next few months, I would go to mom and say, okay, is there something you can show me how to do? Is there something I can help you with? Whatever the case may be. When I was told about a month or maybe two before she was supposed to be coming back from the mat leave that they had changed their mind and decided that daughter was going to now go into that management position. So she was going to, when she returned, train for the management position, and they wanted me to stay in the position that I occupied where I was bored stiff. When that happened, I really had to think. I really had to think about this because I mean, wasn't a bad paying job. It was steady work. It was all of that kind of stuff. But if you're somebody like me, that bored place is painful. It's just absolutely painful. I needed more stimulation in my work than I was getting from what I was doing. And so I made the decision to tell them that, I was done, that I wasn't going to move forward. In that case, I had made a commitment, but the circumstances, the framework for what I had made my decision on changed. So I didn't feel bad about going to them and saying, okay, well, we had this agreement and this agreement and this agreement. This hasn't happened. This hasn't happened. And now you're telling me that I'm going to be stuck at that desk for 4 hours actually being productive and for the rest of the day twiddling my thumbs. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do it. So these are the kinds of things. There was another job that I had at the same time. So I actually left that job to go to another job in the little town that we were living in. And there was this bar, right? So I had done serving in my younger years and I enjoyed it. And so they were looking for someone. And I thought, well, I can walk from home, all of that kind of stuff. Initially, on the surface, it looked like a fantastic thing. For somebody like me who doesn't mind that kind of stuff, it looked like a fantastic thing. And, there was all kinds of stuff rolled up into this. It actually gave us our start in the community, making friends and so on and so forth, because before that, we hadn't met a whole lot of people. So there were benefits definitely to going into it. But what happened about 6 months later was that the owner, I don't know what exactly happened, but it was like a Jekyll and Hyde sort of a situation. And all of a sudden, it was really difficult to be there and like abusive to be there. The words that came out of that lady's mouth for the customers and the staff were really not good. So I took my leave. So this is what I'm saying. When you have an expectation, you make a decision based on the information that you have right now, and you make the decision based on what it looks like right now would be the right thing to do. Don't forget that you have an absolute right to change your mind, especially if somebody else has changed the circumstances, the situation, the framework that you were promised and now it's not. It's not like that anymore. Absolutely, you are the person that you need to look out for in those circumstances. So, if things start to feel different or you become aware of information that was previously hidden, you know, sometimes we've met friends or potential partners or whatever the case may be, and they look a certain way when we first meet them and we first start spending time with them, and then over time you start to see, wait a second, I don't feel very aligned with this person. This person isn't what I thought they were, who I thought they were. I'm not sure if this is a really good fit for me anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? Always do what's right for you. So, yeah, there are times when this is where we need to tap into both intuition and ego, because there are times that whatever is happening, whatever decision you've made is actually sort of a stepping stone or the next step on the path that's going to lead you to the next thing. So even if it's all of a sudden sort of gone sideways and you're not really sure, check in with yourself, because sometimes there's still something there for you and it's not complete yet. This story, this piece of your life is not complete yet. So we had moved up to Trenton, Ontario. We were there for about 2 years and things just did not work out. Eventually, that led us to move out to Alberta. And that was where I thrived. I grew, I changed, I developed a whole different belief system about myself. That was the place. That was the place that I needed to go to have those experiences. But I didn't know that before we went to Trenton. So again, sometimes the first step is what leads you to the thing. So check in with yourself always. Is there still something left here for me to do? Even when we were coming back from Alberta, I had friends that were like, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? When are you coming home? Throughout the entire time that we lived there. And I just kept on saying to them, I'm not done here yet. I don't know why, but I'm not done here yet, until we were. And then we came home. So this is the stuff to play around with. Now, here's the caveat that I'm going to throw your way. If it's taking a toll on your health, emotional or physical, abandon ship. Abandon ship. Don't worry about the check in. If somebody becomes verbally, physically, emotionally abusive to you, that is a like hard no, done, out the door. All right, because you deserve to be treated with respect. consideration, kindness in all areas of your life. So do not allow anybody, even if the one signing the paycheck, don't allow them to treat you in an emotionally, physically, or any other abusive sort of way. Okay. That one is a hard no. There is always, and this is capitalized, always another job, another opportunity, another person, another situation, always. Okay. So don't stick around there because you feel stuck. You feel like you made a promise that you need to follow through on. If something goes that far off the rails, out the door as fast as you can. And that is actually what happened at that little bar job that I had. And I walked out the day that the thing happened. So you are worthy and deserving, remember this, worthy and deserving of respect and consideration. If either of those things are missing from whatever the situation is, go, get out. All right. So we are now going to head to our second break. If you have not already gone and gotten your pen and paper, now would be a good time to do that because when we come back, I am going to give you some actual steps, tips, like a little bit of a framework on how to do this thing about assessing what kind of emotional toll whatever decision you are making right now will have on you and your life. So you are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and stick with us for just a minute. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the subliminal soundtrack reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about the emotional toll your decisions can take on you and how to go about doing this sort of cost-benefit analysis to make the choices that are right for you at the time. So this is the part of the show where I'm supposed to tell you about everything that's going on in my business world. So to be honest, what's going on in my business world is tax season. There's not been a lot of time for other stuff right now. So I'm quite busy with that. And we'll be done that in the next couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to that. We've got such beautiful weather outside. And I was just watching the squirrels running around and chasing each other. I've got this really big, beautiful tree in my backyard here, which is a perfect view of when I'm on, or for me when I'm on the show. So yeah, we've got all kinds of wonderful stuff. I can't wait to get out there and dig in the dirt and plant and all of that kind of stuff. So right now my focus is on those things, sort of like having that, this is what I'm working toward. When I'm done all of this stuff, I can do this. I don't know. Do you like flowers? Do you like gardening? I like it all. I've got these tulips and daffodils that actually grow up out of the grass because I took out this step garden a couple of years ago and I didn't get all the bulbs clearly. So it makes me happy every time I see them starting to poke up out of the ground. All right, so here we go. Are you ready? Do you have your pen and paper? Are you ready? Because here we go. So this is the process of putting those intuition and ego together, having them work in conjunction to help you make the best choice for you at this time. So, step number 1, always in almost everything that I talk about, get clear on what it is that you're dealing with, on what it is that you desire, on what it is in almost every one of these. That is your first step. Because until we are clear on what it is that we actually are desiring or are looking for or whatever the case may be, until we have clarity on what it is that we want to create, we can actually just be like shooting off in the dark, and you're expending all this energy and it's going absolutely nowhere because you're not clear on what it is you want and you can't then put it out there that this is the thing that you would like to have. Okay, so get clear. Is it a sort of decision between two things? Maybe there's two job offers. Maybe it's I could move to this country or city, or I could move to this country or city. Which one? Okay. So maybe it's one of those things, or maybe it's a yes or no. Maybe it's a, okay, I've got this job offer, but I'm kind of comfortable where I am right now. Do I really want to make that move? Yes or no? Okay. So this will work in either of those cases, but you need to get clear on what it is. What question are you asking? What is the decision that you're trying to make? So once you have that done, then the next step is to gather as much information about whatever that is as you possibly can. So this is where we were talking about going to your friends, your tribe, your family members, whoever it is, the ones that you trust, the ones that you know are going to be able to offer you good information or good ideas or different perspectives to help you sort of look at things from different angles and see see things from a different side. All right. So this is the step where you would go out and find those people and talk with them. All right. It's also important though, and we sort of touched on this. It's also important to remember that someone may have an opinion based on their own biases. So make sure that you're talking to the people who are absolutely behind you and want the absolute best for you, want happiness and all of that yummy stuff, even if it might create an uncomfortable circumstance for them. All right. You know who they are. You know who they are. And if you don't know who they are, find yourself a coach or a counselor or somebody else that might be able to help you from uh, that standing back place where you can't, because you're in it, you can't see sometimes the things that other people can see who are around you. So find yourself someone to talk to about these things and use that information then to help you think it through. Your next step, very, very, very important, is the gut check. So when I consider this job versus this job, based on the information that I have right now, here is our gut check. Here is our intuition. Which one will take me further or closer to my end goal? Which one is the right, which one will direct me better down the road that I've chosen for myself, and which one might take me off course or create something, maybe it leads you to a new place of living. And my son, actually, he's now a welder, and one of the job offers or jobs that he was going for recently was one that he actually wanted that job specifically because it would give him the opportunity to travel all over the world. So what is it that you're looking for, and which one might help you get there more easily, faster, whatever the case may be? It's not always just about the money. Sometimes it's about the people that you're working with or the people that you're interacting with. Sometimes it's about the place that you're living. Sometimes it's about, this would be a more comfortable place for my body to be, or this would involve whatever. This would involve something that would bring more laughter and joy into my life. So you're checking in with yourself and allowing that intuition, that little quiet tap on the shoulder. You're allowing yourself to listen to that. Now, again, this is one of those places where usually it's a very good idea to get really quiet or go for a walk in nature. Go someplace or be someplace while you're doing this where you're not going to be disturbed. If you've got kids running around, then maybe wait until after bedtime or something like that. You need to be able to be in a place where you're not going to be disturbed for a while in order to allow yourself this process. Okay? So, step number 4 is where this can get kind of tricky because we are actually weighing that ego, that information that you should do this because it's a really great opportunity and it pays better and it's got a better benefit package, whatever it is, right? So it's the should. This one makes the most sense. All right? And you're weighing that against this one feels good. You're weighing them out. And the idea is that you want to find the place where those two match up the best. So if you've got several different options, then you want to pick the one where it makes sense and it feels good as much as possible because some of them like I cannot do corporate work. I just can't handle the corporate environment, the office politics, the I don't do well under those circumstances, and I learned that a long time ago. So for me, that would be a like immediate no. Okay, but before I learned that lesson, I didn't know that yet. Do you see what we're talking about? Yes. I didn't know that until I knew it. So you want to find that place where this one makes a lot of sense because the pay is good, the benefits are good, and it feels good. It may not be the highest paying job. It may not have, all of the perks, but it feels really good. So this is where you're bringing those two things. Your intuition and your ego are coming together to help you pick the best option right now. So the fifth step, and we've talked a little bit about this, make your choice and reserve the right to change your mind. Make the choice and reserve the right to change your mind. So sometimes, as we talked about, sometimes the people change. Sometimes the situations change. Sometimes it could be a change in management if it's a job that you're talking about. There could have been a manager that you really loved working with, and then somebody comes along and, oh boy, you are not a good fit. Then the stress is going up, and that will often take a toll on our body and most certainly on our emotional being, right? If we put ourselves into these positions where we're constantly stressed or we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, those jobs that well, maybe you haven't had them, but those jobs where you're just waiting for somebody to to do something, because they're there, what they're up to, and you're just waiting for the shoe to drop, that stress is not good for you. Either body, soul, emotion, whatever, spiritually, like whatever. That stress of waiting for that thing to go wrong, it's not good. It's not good. And yeah, so you want to allow yourself to have this grace to be able to change your mind because I mean even if you think about, okay, I want to go back to school and I want to become a rocket scientist. What if I get into the rocket scientist program or whatever it's called? I don't know why I choose that one. What if I get into that program and I'm like, oh no, this is not what I thought it was going to be? Or, maybe I decide that I would like to be a doctor and I get in there and wow, no, I didn't realize there was this much science. I don't like this at all. Or I don't handle the bodily fluids as well as I thought I would, or whatever the case may be, right? Whatever it is, you reserve the right to make a choice now and then change your mind later if it feels like it's not working for me. It's not working for me. And yeah, it's okay to decide that something is not. It's not the thing. It's not the thing. And then you go back to the drawing board. It's not the end of the world. And I don't even know what the number is anymore, but they say that a lot of people these days have many, many different careers over the course of their lives because We used to have the factories and you'd retire with the gold watch and the pension. And that's just not really the way of the world anymore. So a lot of people do have these multiple careers throughout the course of their lives. Don't ever be ashamed for taking a crack at it. Don't ever be ashamed for trying. Don't ever be ashamed for getting up to bat. Okay? It is okay to try something and try something different and try something different. Never be ashamed of doing that, because at each step, at each stage, with each experience, you're learning. You are gathering those bits of information that are then on your subliminal soundtrack that will help guide you through your life. Okay. All right. So we are now going to head to our last break. If you did not catch those tips, steps, whatever you want to call them, just rewind the video, go back and listen to it again. It's all good. All right, so we are obviously we're on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and when we come back, we are going to wrap up this conversation about emotional toll, price versus cost. So we'll be right back. Stick with us.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to our last segment of Time to Rise and Thrive today. You're with me on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. And today we are talking about emotional toll. Emotional toll. So we want to play with, think about that. The toll. It's the price. It's the cost. It's all of it rolled in. Okay. That's where we need to, that's the cost benefit analysis. It's the price, it's the cost, it's the value, it's the opportunity, it's all of it rolled into one place. And we're going to wrap up today's conversation by really, really talking about this. You have the right to change your mind. And we're going to talk about this more because this was the thing. This was a thing, man. I'm not going to go into details on this stuff, but I will tell you that I put myself in some really bad circumstances throughout my life because I was so attached to this idea of keeping my word. I was so attached to this idea of doing what I said I would do. And the idea of obligation. I was so attached to that that it somehow I'd missed a piece, like a really important piece, because here's the thing, you are not, it doesn't matter who you've told that you would do something. You are not required to sacrifice your mental, emotional, physical health or any other part of yourself just because you told somebody you would do something. Think about that for a second, especially when it starts to come down to somebody is blowing a gasket. That is a toxic environment. Somebody is losing their mind. Somebody's calling people names. Somebody is pulling the rug out from under people. Somebody is actually sabotaging your career, whatever it is. You are not required to sacrifice yourself just because you said that you would do something. And I really want that to hit home. Really, really, really want to get clear on that piece because this is, in all honesty, I mean, we can talk about abusive relationships. We can talk about toxic work environments. We can talk about toxic friendships. We can talk about any and all of that stuff. A lot of times people stay in circumstances because, we've got till death do us part. We've got, I've signed a contract. We've got whatever, like whatever the case may be. So you are allowed to change your mind, especially if the circumstances are not what you anticipated they were going to be or what you were promised. If somebody has actually broken their promise, you have no obligation whatsoever to follow through on your end of the deal. Okay? So again, we have the right to change our minds. We make the decision based on the information that we have and what we believe to be best for us right now. And that might involve other people, that might involve family members, it could be children or whatever the case may be. So we make the decisions based on the circumstances and the information that we have going into those circumstances. It is very important for us to understand that in the intro to the show we talked a little bit about the emotional cost, a little bit about the financial cost as well. So when we're not functioning, when we're not functioning well, when we are in a state of trauma, when we are in a state of fear or of just unease because there's stuff going on and you're just like, oh my God, when you're in that state, believe it. It not only affects you physically and emotionally, it will affect your finances because you are not working at your peak. You are not able to focus as well as you could otherwise. So believe there will be a financial cost to those sorts of situations too. It's very important for us to understand this. You are not required to sacrifice yourself ever, ever. Okay. All right, so I'm getting that. We're just about done. She's gonna kick me off the air. I love Jen. She's tough though. Sometimes I'm gonna get in trouble when the show's over. No, she's awesome. All right, so I wrote down something when I was doing this morning, and this is the quote that I want to leave you with today. It's important to remember that you are not obligated to follow through on something just because you made the choice to try it. You are not obligated to sacrifice your emotional or physical health for anyone or anything else. Remember, there is always another opportunity, another job, another person, another situation. Make the choice that feels and seems right in the moment, but reserve the right to change your mind in order to do what's right for you. I know that was a long one. I know that was a long one. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being with me on Time to Rise and Thrive today. I just love this so much. We're going to be back next Friday. Oh, and I told you that I was going to share with you about next week's show. This one is going to be good. Next week, we'll be back on Friday, as always, at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain Time, and 10 Pacific. Next week's show is called Acknowledge Yourself. You are already a huge success. We're going to be talking about getting clarity on what you are currently doing that's working for you and what you're doing unconsciously that creates barriers that prevent you from achieving what you truly desire. We're also going to be talking about celebrating what you're doing right. Yay! All right, so please come back and join me next week. I've had so much fun with you today. Well, not, and this one hasn't been exactly the most funny show, but I have enjoyed it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate you coming to share your time with us on Fridays. Thank you so much for that. I'll see you next week. Remember, this is Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery. And remember, it is your time to rise and thrive.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.